Hey guys, this is Harith. Welcome back to True Space. Right now, we're gonna be doing a video about this Aries season, what to expect, how it's gonna go, and to just to understand what type of energies that we're having too. So, which is very important. Aries is the beginning of the new year. It's not really winter. How the new Gregorian calendar and all these different Masonic religious system made it to be, because a lot of us believe that the new year starts around December, which is just where they practice their ritual of Christmas, and that leads into new year, their new year, not our new year. The new year by all indigenous culture starts around the spring season. This is why a lot of Hindus and things like that, they don't participate in the new year of like Western people. They have their own new year, which is 100% make more sense. The new year is supposed to deal with a new birth, a new start of things, and it's very weird for you to start things or begin things in the winter season, they're in Capricorn, or Aquarius season. It doesn't make sense. We're still in the winter season where we're still dealing with the energy of physical death and spiritual ascension. And the original new year, which a lot of people like to say it starts in the spring season, it makes much more sense. It's hard to give birth to things when things are cold outside, when there's rain, there's snowfall, and like it does not make sense from an external point of view. That type of energy, when you see winter and things along this line, it makes you want to stay home, which is what like literally the winter season about. But during the spring season, we see things getting warm. The animals are getting out. The sun, the weather, snow start to melt, and things along this line. And this externally looks like a good period to start things into existence, because we could see how nature now is ready to move forward to birth and spring new things for to existence. Why? Because we just came back from death, winter, and things along this line. So this is important to keep in mind. So when the sun goes into Aries, we're gonna be focusing on giving birth, initiating new ways of seeing and feelings about our passions, desires, individuality, who I am, which is a big part of Aries energy. A lot of time, if you cannot figure out your own self of individuality, you would never know how to exert yourself in the world properly, and you may allow things, for example, Aries opposite Libra. You may, if you don't have a good self development, a good awareness of who you are, your individuality, you can let your home, family, domestic issues maybe take advantage of you. This is why Aries, the first house, squares Cancer and things like that. You hear it all the time. People, they talk about their family members taking advantage of them. But if you don't want that happen to you, you gotta spend time building the individuality, the self expression, that image of who you want to be, to let the world know you got something going on, and the world can't take you away from who you want to be, that image you want to initiate. And we also got the example Libra, your relationships, your marriages, how you go about creating harmony in your life. Sometimes that get in the way of you initiating giving birth to these visions, imagination, and these passions and desires, because you want to balance things with your relationships, the people you're in communication with. And we also have Capricorn. Sometimes our business status, this current world structure that we live in, prevent us from chasing after our individuality, our passions, our desires, and creating new ways about how to see and feel about these things, which gives Aries a very childlike capacity, in the sense that Aries are willing to spark new things, and they have this ability obviously to initiate visions and imagination. Because when we speak about fire signs, they are the seers of the yin realm. They take what's inside us, what's behind the scene that we can't see, and they create a vision, an image to externalize, to bring it outside. This is why the seers of the yin realm, while water signs are the feelers of the yin realm. So in this Aries season, you should expect to give birth to an image that should be the representation of your yin realm. this is who you gonna be, this is who you want to be, this is what you want to bring into this world, which is all what all Aries season is about. This is the beginning of the spring season. So the beginning of spring season, we're gonna be highly aggressive. The sun is exalted here. It really forces you to take as many opportunities as you can. Play like a child. When we have planets exalted in areas, you have too much energy to do what you want to do. So, which is good because it's gonna give us all what we need to give birth to who we are. This individuality, this passion we want to begin the year with, and this is important because if we go too far on paying attention, taking action on these passion and desires that's about our individuality, about who we are, we may even lead to a lot of destructive situation too, because we may not be aware of how much the sun is exalted here and how much we're paying attention to our own vision, individuality, not taking into account what's happening outside of us, which is very important. This is why we have the full moon is gonna happen in Libra, which is obviously telling you from the beginning as the sun enter Aries season, you obviously have to give birth. You obviously have to be passionate about who you are, but we can't forget our relationships. We can't forget our marriages. We can't forget our ability to communicate and create harmony. Because here in Aries energy, we could become very selfish, very self-assertive, very separative, like literally the anthropomization of Lucifer energy, where you could become a demon in the sense that you want to give birth to a vision, an imagination, so you can separate from the world. And this is the bad side of the Aries energy, because this is the beginning of spring, which we need to anchor into Taurus. So if we create too much separative energy, too much detachment, too much fuck reality, too much burning through things, we're not gonna have any place to go. And this is what gonna make us extremely mad and angry, because the Aries, they want to give birth to, they want to fight, they want to have a passion so they could eventually share it with everybody, but they don't know how to go about it, since obviously we're dealing with one of the personal signs and the beginning of the personal signs, which makes sense because Aries have a very childlike attitude. Sometimes they don't know what to do, what not to do. They just want to initiate how they feel in the moment and forget about it, and then initiate a new feeling, a new way of seeing, and things along this line. So, which is good, obviously, because this child attitude allows us to, like Aries represent our brain and nervous system. So the more we're aware on how to give birth to and be passionate about different desires and things like that, we're gonna know how to mold our brain and nervous system. Because you gotta think about this: older people, when they get old, or the older you get, you lose the capacity of giving birth to visions, imagination, new ways of seeing and feeling about reality and your passions and desires, which is very important for you to stay young and keep your brain healthy. But the less you do that capacity, the more your brain gets old, the more your brain get cold too, the more your brain start to age. While you could practice the ritual of Aries, but through this right now, this Aries season, through initiating, becoming passionate about this vision, imagination that you want to chase after, which obviously gonna anchor itself into your own biology. Because you gotta think about what is neurology and neurogenesis and things like that speak about in science. All these things deal with giving birth to and playing with what our nervous system, our brain cells. But all these brain cells, all these nervous system energies, they come from the speculative energy of Aries, dealing with, obviously, like I'm saying earlier, how we go about giving birth to our visions, our passions, our desires, and how are we passionate, how aggressive are we about these things. The more we could do that energy, the more we could light up our brain and nervous system, the more we could stay aware of what we want to do, which allow us to be more single-minded and allow us to focus on what we need to do. So something here is to consider this Aries season, obviously, since it deal with giving birth to, and be passionate and aggressive about what are our individuality, our passions, our desires. We were coming from Pisces season, Aqua season, a Capricorn season. And like I was said earlier, these signs deal with the almost like the outer planets. So we're dealing with the collective signs in that sense. So when the sun was in Aquarius, when the sun was in Capricorn, when the sun was in Pisces, we're obviously focusing on building our business status. Capricorn, when the sun went to Aquarius, we're focusing on associating, on communicating, on progressing that business structure that we started when the sun was in Capricorn. But when the sun went to Pisces, now we started to enter the subconscious realm of our dreams and illusion to see what we can do with what we got from Capricorn, what we gave birth to, but what we also fixated in Aquarius season. Now, Pisces season is the mutable aspect of the winter season, which is almost like a grace period between fixed signs and cardinal signs. This is how you could think about mutable signs. They give us enough break so we could gather ourselves before we go into the next season. This is why mutable signs end all season. Pisces and winter season, we go into Aries. Gemini and spring season, we go into Cancer. Virgo and fall season, and then we go into no, Virgo in the summer season, and then we go into the fall season, and Sagittarius in the fall season, and then we go into Capricorn season. So when the sun was in Pisces, we're really building our dreams and illusion. We're seeing how can we develop more faith, how can we develop more spirituality, how can we develop more compassion, or even on the negative side, we may have been trying to escape reality. We may have been trying to convince ourselves certain delusions, certain imaginations that's unrealistic because we were not putting the work therein when the sun was in Capricorn or Aquarius. So we have nothing to dream about. We have nothing to have faith about. We have nothing to believe in, which make perfect sense why you feel that, especially with Pluto being in Capricorn, which is in the later degree, and now Pluto in Aquarius. So if you were not paying attention to these energies, you definitely might feel helpless. And we had Saturn in Aquarius for 2 years. Saturn just entered Pisces. So this last winter season was almost our last chance to touch in with our business status and our associates and how we're gonna progress reality, but also our dreams and illusion. Obviously, you have more chances to go through them, but since we had the generational planet, heavy hitter planet, going through these signs at the latest degree, we were definitely almost like collected, got a lot of fruits, a lot of labor out of it. So this should make you excited if you've been putting the work for Aries season, that you have something to fight for, you have something to be aggressive about, you have something to father, you have something to, and things like that. But if you don't have nothing, you have nothing that you got from Pisces, Capricorn, Aquarius season, then in Aries season, you're gonna be highly aggressive, you're gonna be highly angry, you're gonna be one of those people who's trying to give birth to different passions and desires. You're gonna be all over the place, which is gonna be the negative side of Aries energy. We're gonna learn how to be single, direct minded on one passion, vision, individuality that we could really focus on building, because we understand right now Aries season is what leading us into the fixated portion of the spring season, Taurus energy. And Taurus season or Taurus energy deal with stabilizing, grounding ourselves, finding safety and security for ourselves. But all that safety and security, all that grounding, all that making sense, all that stabilizing is gonna come from whatever we gonna give birth to in Aries season, which is very important because we have Uranus in the North Node right now going on through Taurus. So if you have nothing to be passionate about, nothing to be aggressive about, you're gonna have nothing to anchor down into reality, nothing to practicalize, nothing to feel safe and secure about, especially with Uranus being there, causing a lot of destabilization, a lot of electricity, destroying a lot of destroying our senses, our physical well-being. It's very hard for us to feel safe and secure with Uranus being debilitated in Taurus in our physical body, which really forces us to move around, fight, figure out ways of how can we be more unique and original so we can achieve a higher form of value, a higher form of safety and security for ourselves. But now if we want to amplify that, We gotta make sure that we're giving birth to something in the beginning of the spring season, aka Aries energy, which is gonna be highly, highly important. So Aries season is gonna have a lot of backup, like behind the scene energies dealing with it too. So it doesn't only deal with giving birth to our passion, our desires, our individuality, but during that time when the sun have entered Aries, we're gonna have Pluto entered Aquarius. So that Pluto that deals with obviously deep purging, transformative type of situation where it comes to our associates, how we want to progress reality. I bet when Pluto goes into Aquarius, we're gonna see a lot of death, a lot of power and control issues with when it comes to how we associate, how we communicate, how we intellectualize or progress our society in a new place that actually makes sense, which is very hard in Aquarius. Aquarius is interesting because it's ruled by two planets. Saturn is trying to bring things into reality and create boundaries and restrictions, while Uranus is trying to be unique and original through rebelling against what's old and outdated. So when we have those two planets in Aquarius, we have a lot of energy that is very hard to stabilize in reality. This is why a lot of Aquarius energy lead to a lot of erratic issues with the nervous system from a biological point of view. A lot of Aquarius, in my opinion, they are very, very ungrounded when it comes to reality. It's almost like they don't give a fuck about their physical body because they're so up high when it comes to their brain and nervous system. They just think about thoughts, ideas, what makes sense, and that which make them detached from reality. And Aquarius are talented when it comes to disassociating and associating from what they think it's correct and what they think is not correct. So a lot of time they could create a situation where it could create like almost like a biological dysfunctions, like all the signs that deal with the collective, the way their energy play out biologically is way different than the personal signs how they play out biologically. We talk about Aries, the brain and nervous system. It plays it's a different type of issue. Cancer, your lymphatic immune system. We talk about Gemini, your respiratory system. We're speaking about Taurus, your hormonal endocrine system, compared to the outer planets, the generational signs. Capricorn, we're dealing with the skeleton system. Aquarius, we're dealing with the nervous, the meridian system, the higher aspect of your nervous system. Pisces, your skin, your intermediary system, how you absorb the world through your skin. But your skins had different layers all the way to the point we could speak about how your aura is your skin too. That's gonna be important. So definitely as we're trying to give birth to and be passionate about individuality, we're gonna see a lot of death, transformation, power, control when it comes to how we associate with ourselves, how society is trying to progress itself, how society is trying to invent new things which makes sense. We're going through a lot of things like new AI technology, new human transhumanism, which is basically how we use technology to mold human existence. Like we already know about this. Well, all the things that people are able to do. Females could get BBLs, they could get lips fillers. Males, they could get like everybody, they could get like hairline surgery. They could get muscle surgery. They could get even reproductive system surgery, which is quite crazy. We're in a period of time where we have enough technology and money to transform any aspect of our biological system, which is kind of fucked up because with this capacity, it's almost like giving kids too much sugar, and now kids are gonna go all over the place with it and destroy their physical body. So we gotta be highly aware with how we go about taking power and transform how we associate ourselves with reality because it's going to highly affect this. We're going to see a lot of transformative controlling information here, like a good analogy. Pluto is Hades, the god of the underworld. But when we have Pluto, the god of the underworld, go to Aquarius, the heaven, all hell is gonna break loose. Because the heaven is basically the place where we come up with our new ideas, new mentalities, where we see where the world could go. But we have Pluto, the Lord of the dead, the Lord of the ungodly going there, a lot of death is gonna go on. You're gonna see a lot of darkness with the way we think. Probably gonna see a lot of like even deep things like you probably government's gonna get exposed, politic parties gonna get exposed. Recently, I was hearing about how Congress was dealing with the owner or the CEO of TikTok, which is it happened as soon as when Pluto entered Aquarius, because Congress were trying to take power and control of their platform of the internet. When I think about Aquarius, I think about the internet, because the internet is the place where it was built for us to disassociate from reality, where we could create fake profiles. So you could think about how intense that could be and things like that. So we have to be aware of these things. So definitely pay attention to what's going on with the world, technology, your associates, politics. All these gonna give you like kind of heads up on what to do and what not to do. We also had Saturn enter Pisces around March the 7th. So that Saturn enter Pisces, we had Saturn go through Aquarius for a long period of time, where Saturn wanted us to go through the harsh lessons, the realities, learn how to create boundaries, restriction when it comes to who we're associated with, who can we connect with, who can we communicate with on a higher social level, so we could do some humanitarian activity. But with Saturn leaving its home sign, home ruler Aquarius, now it's in Pisces, where Saturn wants to achieve boundaries, reality, see what actually makes sense and what does not make sense when it comes to our dreams, our illusion, our subconscious mind. Saturn and Pisces will make us see the reality of our subconscious mind, where we bullshitting, where we doing the subconscious work in reality. Because remember, we had Neptune, who was in Pisces for a long ass time, man, making us very aware of all type of spirituality. Like I learned about when Neptune entered Pisces. That's when I started getting into the conscious community, different things like Brother Palai, Dr. York, Dr. Ali Muhammad, Asir Duke of Tears. And as we dove deeper and deeper into Neptune and Pisces, I learned deeper things about spirituality, my subconscious mind, which was unbelievable, especially where we are right now with Neptune at 25-degree Pisces. With the amount of things that I learned, man, that shit will blow your mind. And I bet you learned a lot of things just like me. I had Neptune and Pisces go on through my fourth house, so I became highly aware of the subconscious influence of my family, how a lot of sabotaging energy could go with having a Pisces fourth house, where you don't know how to separate your own subconscious mind, your own emotion from everybody, and that tends to create a lot of victimization energy. So that made me very careful. So when Saturn right now entering Pisces, now Saturn is pouring the concrete, which is an analogy I heard from the peace dealer. Is gonna pour the think of Neptune. Neptune was priming the road for your subconscious mind, like molding the streets and everything. What Saturn's gonna come is the construction worker and pour the concrete and make sure everything is solidified in your subconscious mind. This is an energy to really bring your dreams into reality. So don't mess it out, definitely. So also we're gonna have Mars entering Cancer. Mars was in Gemini in a long ass time, dude. I forgot even where was Mars, bro. I thought Mars actually at this point rules Gemini. So Mars in Gemini for this last 7 months was all about learning how to be passionate, aggressive, about our communication, about what we're analyzing, arguments, so we could develop more curious or more mental communicative arsenal through being passionate and aggressive about these thoughts, these mental forms that we have to test out, which obviously led to a lot of obviously arguments, a lot of aggression, which makes sense here because a lot of time Gemini is a mutable sign, so it's indirect with the thoughts and feel the thoughts and ideas and ways of analyzing and articulating these things. But when Mars there, we will really have to be passionate about communicating, passionate about these thoughts and ideas, passionate about how can we find an intellectual system that makes sense, making sense about our actions, making sense about our passion and desires. This is what Mars and Gemini was really about. Mars going through Gemini for this long period of time, you probably even forgot what passions and desires that you had when Mars was in Taurus. And then Mars entered Gemini, you probably forgot what type of things we were going for, which I don't even blame you because being in Gemini for 7 months, we totally forgot where maybe our passions, desires went. But if you're into astrology, you obviously kept track of things and you were trying to be passionate, aggressive when it comes to communicating and analyzing about what you want to build, about what you want to feel safe and secure about your values, about your stability. Because Mars was coming from Taurus, but in Gemini it got distracted because it wanted to develop wings, it wanted to fly, it wanted to understand the Holy Mercury, all these symbols and things like that. But it allowed us to develop a lot of mental capacity to our passions and desire, which is very good. And finally, we also have during this Aries season, we're gonna have an Aries stellium with Jupiter, Chiron, and the Sun and Mercury there. So Jupiter been there for a while, really wanting us, forcing us to expand, so we can extract knowledge and wisdom from this vision, this passion that you have, this individuality. Does it make sense? Does not it make sense? Aries energy could lead to a lot of tyrannic emperors, if you will, like Aries, the emperor card in tarot. But having Jupiter here, the father, Zeus, the one who teaches knowledge and wisdom, is almost like Aries, the emperor, who had his father by his side to show him what's right and wrong. That's very similar to the Bible allegory of King David and his son King Solomon, and how King David honored his son, how King David made sure that his son honored the Lord, honored the wisdom of the God, and the house of Israel, basically. So you can think about Jupiter. Jupiter was priming the way for the sun here. So Jupiter was helping us to expand and extract knowledge and wisdom on these in our passion and desires. So when the sun enter Aries, we have better ways to go about it. We have more guidance from Jupiter, the Holy Father, the Holy Ghost. We also have Carrion here. Carrion is the wounded healer. Is how we got hurt, but how we got hurt is dealing with our individuality, our self-expression. So Carrion really forced us in Aries to become more aware of that wound in our individuality, make us more aware of our self-expression. How can we take better action on our passions and desires, even though we feel all this vulnerability, all these wounds, all these mistakes that we're making. Karya is the gift of making mistakes, so we can know what to do, what not to do. If you think about it, Karyan, it deals with the mythology of the centaurs. The centaurs, if you look at them, they're creatures half human, half animal. So they deal with half human, half animal nature, which is basically telling you the allegory of how we fight against our animalistic desires. But them being half man shows you the higher aspect of the logic, the intellect, while the lower portion of their body shows you their still lost in their animalistic desires. So think about Carrion was the centaur who became the teacher of Apollo in Greek mythology. He taught him music, he taught him how to fight, he taught them medicine and things like that. Because Carrion himself was the byproduct of I think a crazy marriage. I think Saturn, Kronos, and some asteroid name called nymph, or like some mermaid type of creatures. And these, when they mix together, they produce Carrion, and Carrion has to go through this entire journey of figuring out how to heal itself, which made it the wisest centaur. This is why it was teaching Apollo and things along this line. So Carrion is here helping us to create mistakes. It's helping us to heal our individuality. It's helping us to deal with the vulnerability, dealing with our passions, our desires, the vulnerabilities that deal with giving birth to something. So we could go through the necessary mistakes, so we could reorientate this expression to something that is much more wise, something that could be much more practical in a sense. And we also have Mercury here too. So Mercury entering Aries, this allowing us to figure out new ways of thinking, communicating about our passions, our desires, ways of analyzing them. A lot of time Mercury in Aries, it could end up thinking too fast or communicating about what we're passionate and aggressive about. So we gotta be careful here and learn how to slow down our train of thought. Mercury says it's focused on giving logic, giving structure, making sense about our passion and desires. So our passion and desires do not be all over the place. Mercury is trying to figure out what type of message, what type of information can I provide your individuality, aka your brain and nervous system, so it could become better at expressing itself. Think about Mercury it deals with Gemini, so I obviously deal with oxygen transporting things. So Mercury would transport the right information on how to can we go about this beginning of the spring season, which is very good. So that's an Aries stellium, heavy energy towards. passions, desires, heavy energy to giving birth to. So we gotta be highly careful. We're gonna also have there's gonna be very important aspects that's gonna happen, especially as the sun dive deeper and deeper into Aries season, and that is the sun's gonna conjunct Caryon, and this is gonna be very beautiful in the sense that as we're started paying attention, taking action on our passion and desires, if we've been putting the work when it comes to reorientating, become a more wise, dealing with the vulnerability of our individuality, when the sun conjunct Karya, we're gonna be able to take control and use all these wounds, these lessons, this vulnerability that Karya is providing us with the sun conjuncting us, really forcing us to become aware on how can we go better about them. And if you were doing the work, this is almost like a healing effect. This is like almost like a revival effect where the sun, our awareness is catching up with how much knowledge and wisdom or understanding of our vulnerabilities that we came so far in. But right now, since the sun is still in the early degrees of Aries, you may not fully know how to go about it. But when that conjunction happen, you're gonna feel that energy to really go about how can you boost yourself, if you will, if you have anything to boost. But because this conjunction could play out also negatively where you were not paying attention, you were not trying to give birth to anything. So when the sun, if the sun conjunct Karya, you're gonna feel like a heavy sense of wound, a heavy sense of vulnerability, because you do not realize that you don't have an individuality, you don't have self-expression, and that's what Karya start to make aware of. That's what Karen is trying to heal, bring to life. So the sun is bringing awareness or light to the area that needs healing, and the conjunction might make it a bit too aggressive. So definitely be careful. But the sun also gonna conjunct Jupiter. So the sun, Helios, our awareness, our self-expression, is gonna catch up to the Father who is building knowledge and wisdom through helping us to extract different knowledge, wisdom, making sense. How can we go about this vision and passion in a better way? Since Jupiter allows us to develop better meaning and reasoning through experience, but we need to experience so we could develop better meaning and reason how to go about this. And the sun conjuncting Jupiter, the sun conjuncting Jupiter is gonna allow us to really take hold onto this wisdom, this knowledge that Jupiter been building since it was entering Aries. And now the sun, we could put our passions, we could put our actions behind the Father, behind the wisdom, behind the meaning and reason when it comes to what we want to give birth to. But if we have nothing that we're trying to extract knowledge and wisdom from, nothing we're trying to develop meaning and reasoning from, then when the sun conjunct Jupiter, we're gonna have nothing to become aware of, which is gonna make us highly irritated because Jupiter has to expand your individuality. So you might be going to war with other people about your religious belief or what you or your meaning and reasoning, but you have nothing to fight for, nothing to have a meaning and reasoning about. Then you're gonna feel highly naked uh, because the sun wants you to become aware of something to give birth to, and when it conjunct Jupiter, you're gonna have nothing to give you as a offspring birth from the sun conjuncting Jupiter. More ways, more wise ways to go about it, and that's gonna happen at 21 degree. When the sun becomes at 21 degree and Jupiter at 20 degree Aries at April 11. Then we're also gonna have the beginning of the full moon in Libra happening in April 5th. Uh, it's gonna start to in April 5th, but it's gonna end at April 6th. So, like I was saying earlier, we have to become aware of our passion and desires and this individuality that we're trying to give birth to, and how does it affect our relationships? How does it affect the people we're communicating with? How does it affect the ways that we go about creating balance and harmony in our life? A lot of time we're not aware of how our individuality get in the way of our relationship. So in this full moon in Libra, the moon, your subconscious mind will teach you and show you in which area of life you need to put all this balance and harmony in, all this making sense when it comes to your relationships in, based upon what you've been paying attention to and taking action when it comes to wherever the sun's gonna be in. For example, I have the sun in Aries going through my fifth house. So what I'm supposed to give birth to, what I'm trying to be passionate and aggressive about, is stop dealing with my expression, creativity, romance, children, how I tell my own truth when it comes to the fifth house, how I entertain myself, how I have fun with myself, and things like that. So when the sun enters in Aries, I'm supposed to try to give birth to new ways of seeing and feeling about my creativity, my self-expression, figure out new ways to go about it. So when the full moon goes into Libra, what's gonna happen to my 11th house? I'm gonna be forced to deal with the opposition, the difficult situations that comes from my how I could go about balancing and creating harmony and relationships in the area of the 11th house, associates, groups, and friends, which I need too, because a lot of time we need Libra energy to help us communicate about what we're passionate, aggressive about. Because if we don't do that, we're not gonna find the right people who will help us to get where we need to be. Because a lot of time Aries energy lead, like I said earlier, into separation, which is the negative side, while the full moon in Libra is asking you, how do you feel about your relationship? How do you feel about the people you're communicating with when it comes to your marriages, when it comes to the people you want to make sense of your social life? Does this individuality, does this birth you want to give birth to match with, and can you bring them together? Can you prevent the opposition from happening? Can you prevent the separation? Can you make sense about your passion and desire, but also make sense about your relationship and really bring those things together, which is very important. A lot of time we can let opposition get in our way to do the most successful things. Like oppositions force you to add the necessary tools to get the job done. So the sun in Aries need the tools from the full moon in Libra in terms of how can we go at a better relationship, how can we go at a better harmony, how can we go at a better marriages, which is a lot of time the necessary things to make Aries much more communicative, much more accepted in the social life. But also there's a curse side to the opposition, is that we could add a lot of the uh, opposite energy, which gonna downplay or become negative on that energy. Aries season was about us giving birth to, and when the full moon goes into Libra, that could force us into pay so much emotional attention into our relationships, the people we're getting married to the point that we forsake the individuality, we forsake that what we want to give birth to. So to be highly careful with that and making sure we know what type of relationship, when we want to make sure what type of, how can we communicate better, how can we get better harmony, but we still focus on our passion, our desire. We still how can we be a god of war but also a person who fights for social justice, which is very hard to do. And this is the video. I hope you guys liked it. Like, subscribe, and we got more videos to come. Thank you.